Welcome to the Patriot Training YouTube channel. My name is Clay Howell. I am the owner and head firearms instructor at Patriot Training. The topic of this video is what sort of AR-15 to buy. Many people, both Patriot Training alumni as well as people that know that I teach firearms classes, look to buy an AR-15 and they ask, Clay, what kind of AR-15 should I buy? What kind of AR-15 should I build? And typically they're looking for a name. They want to hear that the Palmetto State Armory rifle they've picked was a good one, or they want to hear that they are justified in spending $2,000 on the Colt, or this, that, or the other. And I'm going to surprise you. I'm not going to recommend certain brands. I will say buy a decent brand and shoot it until it doesn't shoot anymore, then put a good barrel on it and shoot it again until it doesn't shoot anymore. But that said, I'm not going to advise you so much on what kind of AR to buy as I'm going to advise you on some characteristics you should look for. So let's talk about that. The first major characteristic that you need to take into account is the barrel length. Barrel length does not affect accuracy. Many people mistakenly believe that it does, and it does not affect accuracy. What does affect accuracy is, by and large, two main things. First and foremost, how thick the barrel is, and secondly, the dimensions of the chamber. For example, 223 wild chamberings tend to be more accurate than 5.56 millimeter. There are always exceptions, of course. Heavy barrels tend to be more accurate than pencil barrels, for example. Again, there are always exceptions. What barrel length affects is barrel length will have a direct effect on the velocity of the bullets you are shooting. And the reason rifle rounds are so effective is because of the velocity. Therefore, I would recommend that you get at least a 14.5-inch barrel. They sell those 14.5-inch barrels with the pinned muzzle device that make the overall length 16 inches so that you don't have a short-barreled rifle according to the ATF. You've got a real true rifle. There are 13.7s that have the longer muzzle device so that they are compliant as well. That's fine. I would say, that 16-inch barrel, which includes that 14.5, which includes that 13.7, I would say that's a great start. That's a perfectly fine barrel to get on your rifle. Interesting to note, there are a great many Patriot Training alumni that have taken a class with us and later have upgraded their barrel to either a 20-inch barrel or maybe even an 18-inch barrel, because in certain classes we have a way to position you in a safe location, and yet you can still hear the bullets fly overhead and hit the steel some distance away while you're below the ground, while you're safe in a safe position, kind of like the pits at a national match. And they hear these bullets impact on steel, and you can, with your ear, you can tell a great difference between a 55 grain bullet hitting that steel out of a 20-inch barrel versus hitting out of a 16-inch barrel. There is a noticeable difference in sound. And, make sure that you understand, I don't want to get hit by any of them, but I really, really, really don't want to get hit by that bullet just absolutely sizzling out of that 20-inch barrel. Garan Thumb says it nicely. So, do you have to have an 18-inch barrel or a 20-inch barrel? No, but don't feel ashamed if you get one. Some people will try to tell you, well, that's not the best getting in and out of cars, and yes, they're right, but I don't know of many civilian applications where getting in and out of cars will be a lot of what we do. And if your fantasy of the stuff hitting the fan includes you doing a lot of CQB, understand you're not going to live through your fantasy for very long, that's for sure. Twist rate. The next topic is what rate of twist, and here's where I'm going to become very controversial. Much has been written about twist rate online, and mostly it has been written by people who do not shoot as much as they type. And a number of years ago, when I was actually shooting, I noticed that a rifle I had with a 1 9" twist was stabilizing 77 grain ammunition just fine. Now, to be fair, that was a 20-inch rifle, and I thought for a while that that was the kicker. You had to have a 20-inch rifle in order to stabilize it, but a 16-inch wouldn't. And then I shot my 77 grain ammunition out of a rifle with a 1 9" twist, and it had a 14.5-inch barrel with the muzzle device, so it was 16-inch to be compliant, and it stabilized the bullets just fine. Could there possibly be a detrimental effect way down range, 300, 400, 500 yards? Maybe. I haven't seen it. And what you're going to see is I'm going to link in the comments to a video down below where a fellow YouTuber went and tested this out with multiple different rifles and found out the 1 9" twist stabilizes the heavy bullets just as good. So I'm going to tell you, on your twist rate, 1 7 is good, 1 8 is good, and 1 9 is good. Buy with confidence. I know right now somebody's typing furiously in the comments, and they are weeping, and they are wailing, and they are gnashing their teeth. This is false! So that's why I'm going to link the video. And I will also say, when you get to be such a good shot that you can tell the difference in these 3 twists, why then you won't have to take my advice on it anymore now, will you? The next major topic is, should you free float your barrel or not? And this is a very easy one. Free float your barrel. If you get one that's not free floated, you can buy a Midwest Industries rail. It doesn't even have to be a quad rail. They have some others that are 2-piece that you can attach to the mil-spec barrel nut and put on there, and it free floats your rifle just fine. Free float your barrel. It is true that a non-free floated barrel can be every bit as accurate as a free floated one. Yes, that is true. And at the same time, as soon as you rest that rifle forearm on something to steady your shot, you are changing your point of impact on a rifle that does not have a free floated barrel. So definitely put a free float rail on there ASAP. The next topic is what kind of trigger. And make no mistake, my friends, you can use a mil-spec trigger. And if you come to a Patriot Training class, ask me and I can doctor it up for you just nicely. I don't sand it or anything, but I've got a couple of special things I can do with lubrication in certain points on the trigger and the connection areas that really smooth out your trigger. So ask me for that if you come to a class. But shooting it over a period of time will smooth out a lot of things, and they can become quite decent after you've shot 10,000 rounds on that trigger or dry fired that much. If you would like to purchase your way to that point without spending all the time, an ALG trigger is a really nice option. It will get you there much faster. I think current market price at the time of this video, they're about $60 or so. I've got a couple in a couple different rifles that I'm running. If you want to get a nicer trigger, I'm a huge fan of Geissele. Geissele really knows how to make a good trigger. And some people will lay claim that the Rock River Arms National Match trigger is a piece of junk. I've never seen any actual evidence, only claims. And so my match rifle has a Rock River Arms National Match trigger in it, and I've got one other rifle that does as well. And I literally have shot more rounds through that than most people shoot in their life through each one of those guns, and no issues, no hiccups. And some people lay that claim very callously, and they haven't shot thousands of rounds. Maybe that's a topic for another video. But my match rifle, I just rebarreled that. So that'll give you an idea. Optics. Get a good, decent, low power variable optic. If you don't do that, get a red dot or some type of holographic optic and put, or at least have, some kind of magnification, flip to the side magnifier that you can put behind that. And I know as surely as I make this comment, somebody's going to type furiously, "But Clay, you got an ACOG!" Okay, well, let me help you, my friend. I have 3 ACOGs. And let me tell you, from the point of view of someone who uses an ACOG, I've shot more rounds with this ACOG on a gun than you have shot in all of the guns in all of your life. And to give you an idea, that's the 3rd different gun this ACOG has been on. And the weaknesses of the ACOG, number 1, are eye relief, and number 2, it's magnified, so people tend not to get really good at like your ready-ups, and they tend not to practice the close-up stuff as much, and they tend not to practice the more difficult positions, like, for example, shooting on the non-dominant side, shooting a partial offside shot, urban prone, supine positions, things of that sort. They tend to say that that's where the ACOG and its short eye relief really suffers, and I'm here to tell you that if you practice it, but I also know that most people aren't going to practice it, so that's why I recommend a low power variable optic or a red dot. That's my recommendation. The next thing that I'm going to make a recommendation on as you buy your AR-15 is a sling. Every good pistol needs a holster and needs a quality holster. Every good rifle needs a sling, and you need to get a quality sling. My top-end rifles have Vickers slings on them. My next tier rifles have a Magpul MS sling on them. And the reality is MS1, MS2, MS3, MS4 really doesn't matter as much as long as it's an MS, and the reason why is because that Magpul MS sling mirrors the functionality of the Vickers sling. The Magpul is a little less expensive. I can get an MS1 sling at Academy Sports for less than $40. The Vickers slings typically cost about $70 plus shipping. So I don't believe you're losing much with Magpul. They're high quality, without a doubt. Vickers is just top of the line, and once you feel the two next to each other, the Vickers sling, the actual material, is so very soft, it's much more comfortable to carry on your person for an entire day or something like that. So that's how I differentiate between those two. When it comes to selecting the right sling, there's also how you put it on your rifle correctly, how you measure it for yourself so that you can deploy it correctly, how you use that sling either to stabilize the shot or when you're shooting around cover and things of that sort. Come to a Patriot Training class. We do spend a significant portion of each rifle class making sure you understand the ins and outs of how to use your sling properly and getting it sized up for you and your rifle. And we've done this with everybody from 95-pound ladies that weren't even 5 foot tall all the way up to guys that were 6'6" and 350 pounds. Everybody in between. So we can help you, my friends. Well, that is it. You expected me to suggest an AR-15, and I did by way of the features you should be looking for. So some of the features that are important include barrel length, twist rate, whether or not to free float the barrel, the trigger, the optic, and of course the sling. So review those and buy with confidence, and more important than any of that is get out there and shoot your rifle. Take some training, whether it be with Patriot Training or somebody else, get some training practice the stuff you like training, that you learned in training. Get good with that rifle. And until then, I'd like to remind you that you do not have to be a patriot to train, but you do have to train if you want to consider yourself to be a real patriot. Take care.